My name is Kudiabor. I'm from Ghana. I completed my education in the United Kingdom, and I now work as an attorney in New York City, and I work for the municipal government. Both my parents were civil servants in Ghana, and my mom worked in urban planning, and my dad worked as a development economist in Ghana and eventually in Uganda and in St. Kitts Nevis in the Caribbean. Like many children of my generation born in Africa after independence, economic development has interested me since childhood, and also because of my father's career path. And the biggest thing now is the failure of our governments to create and sustain an economic and political system in which the majority of its citizens can enjoy a decent standard of living despite all the resources that countries in Africa are endowed with. The book written by Mr. Ronnie Quist, Such Were the Conditions, the Kahnplay Incident, I consider to be one of the best written books in Africa at the moment. And the reasons are numerous. The writer provides a wonderfully lively account, and in my view, a very accurate account of life in Ghana immediately following independence from Britain. This account includes, personalities who visited Ghana or were living in Ghana at the time, such as W.E.B. Du Bois, Muhammad Ali's visit to Ghana, Malcolm X, and also the Queen of England, who visited Ghana at the time. The author's account of life in Ghana and in Canada and his return to Liberia in Africa is equally interesting, and the challenges he faced and overcome are inspiring to myself and potentially other young readers of this book from Africa who plan or are seeking opportunities outside Africa and outside the continent in Europe and in North America. Like many of us Africans outside the continent, really would like to return home and make our contribution once we have acquired the education and skills from the West. And the writer was fortunate to be able to return to Ghana and Liberia and prosper, given all the enormous obstacles that lie in wait for him on his return. When the author returns to Ghana, one can only admire his strength in resisting the temptation to join the majority of the persons over there in engaging in corruption. And this cost him enormously, in terms of opportunities and so on. The book is a must-read, is a great read about the author's life, and also provides useful insights about the causes of Africa's failure to develop. The writer provides various insights into the contracting sector, the real estate sector in Ghana, and also provides insights into a useful template to many persons interested in this area, the real estate area, about raising finance for real estate development in Ghana. His experience in Liberia under Charles Taylor also provides a useful guide to African leadership on how to deal with investors and personalities from outside the countries coming in to make contributions. His unfortunately came to an end abruptly because of political interference. However, the potential is there and still exists where he can make an enormous contribution to Liberia's development. And one would hope that he would try again, and this time, the path would be smooth and smoothened out, especially if, his experience has been publicized and so on. The writer's life is actually an inspiration to me and to many other African youth outside the continent and also on the continent about interesting approaches to development and interesting approaches to overcoming the challenges that lie on the continent. My favorite chapters in the book are chapter 2, which is an early step toward development, because it resonates with me, as I pointed out before, that many interesting personalities visited Ghana, and Ghana itself was very interesting place at the time, and also shows the naively high hopes that we had for our countries. I also like chapter 10, which is titled Arrested as a Jamaican CIA Spy, where the author was arrested in Kahnplay with his friend, and also it's amusing, the clear lack of communication and lack of understanding by the military officers in Kahnplay at the time, which resulted in his arrest and his sentence to death. Fortunately, the death sentence wasn't carried out, and he was able to extricate, circumstances extricated him from the situation. This resonates with me because it's typical of encounters between myself and other Africans who visited the continent, between themselves and authority figures who are ignorant and also hoping to somehow benefit from the situation. And also we hope that that situation gets better. The interesting thing about the book itself is once he managed somehow his release was somehow orchestrated by friends and colleagues who were in Monrovia. The manner in which they sped away from Kahnplay and made their way back to Monrovia was quite amusing. I can understand that because I would do the same if I were in his shoes. I agree with the authors, pointing out that corruption is really the bane of Ghana's development, Africa's development. However, I think there's certain other aspects of our culture which are also problematic, and also our ignorance, on the continent. The ignorance of Western culture, thinking and actions are also big obstacles to our growth. I would warmly recommend this book. It's a great book. I really would also like to hear from the author, who is an economic development expert, and about his insights on a way forward for the continent in all aspects, in communication, in project finance, in the projects that could benefit the region. I think he has a lot to offer, and I really think that this book is definitely reveals a lot about him, and we hope for the best that in future we hear from him in various fora with his ideas, and hopefully these ideas will help us move forward.